There is a moment you know well. Someone brushes against a fresh burn and you don't flinch. A comment that once would have wrecked you lands and nothing happens. You wait for the sting. It doesn't come. You tell yourself you've grown, that you're stronger now. But the real answer is far stranger, and it lives 3 feet underground in the deserts of East Africa, in an animal so ugly that scientists once assumed it was broken. It is called the naked mole rat. It is pink, wrinkled, nearly blind, and almost hairless. It looks like a thumb with teeth. And for decades, biologists studied it not because it was beautiful, but because it refused to do the things every other mammal does. It refused to age normally. It refused to get cancer. And most disturbing of all, it refused to feel certain kinds of pain. Rub acid on the skin of almost any mammal and it recoils. The nerves fire. The brain screams. That reflex has kept animals alive for hundreds of millions of years. But when researchers exposed the naked mole rat to acid, it did nothing. It kept digging. It kept moving. The signal that should have flooded its body simply never arrived. For a long time, this was treated as a curiosity, a quirk of a strange little creature. But then scientists asked the harder question. Not why it couldn't feel the pain, but why it stopped needing to. And that question, it turns out, is about you. To understand the naked mole rat, you have to understand where it lives. Not just Africa, not just underground. It lives in a place that would kill almost anything else. Deep in the soil, packed into tunnels with hundreds of others, the air itself becomes poison. Oxygen drops. Carbon dioxide climbs. In a sealed burrow crowded with bodies, the gas builds until the atmosphere would knock a human unconscious in minutes. When carbon dioxide floods a normal environment, it reacts with moisture and turns the surface of your skin faintly acidic. For most animals, that acidity is an alarm. It means danger. It means burning. It means get out now. The nerves that detect acid evolved precisely to make you flee. But the naked mole rat can't flee. There is nowhere to go. The whole world is the tunnel, and the tunnel is full of acid air, and it has to stay. So evolution did something remarkable. It didn't make the animal tougher. It made the alarm go quiet. The biologist Thomas Park led the team that traced exactly how. In the naked mole rat, a tiny change in a single protein, a molecule that sits on the surface of pain-sensing nerves, stops the acid signal before it ever reaches the brain. The nerve is still there. The danger is still real. But the message is intercepted, silenced, deleted before it can become suffering. Think about what that means. The animal did not become numb because nothing was wrong. It became numb because something was always wrong, and feeling it every second would have been unbearable and useless. Pain is only helpful when it can make you act. When you cannot act, pain is just noise. And a brain drowning in noise cannot dig, cannot work, cannot survive. So the alarm was switched off. Not because the threat vanished, because the threat never left. Now think about the last time you stopped feeling something. Maybe it was a job that slowly stopped hurting. The Sunday dread that used to twist your stomach quietly faded, and one day you realized you felt nothing about Monday at all. You called it acceptance. Maybe it was a relationship where the fights that once left you shaking became background hum, and you learned to move through the house without reacting. You called it maturity. But ask yourself the mole rat's question. Did the pain stop because the danger ended? Or did it stop because you couldn't leave? Psychologists have a name for part of this. It comes from the work of Martin Seligman, who in the 1960s ran a series of now famous experiments. Animals were placed in situations where a mild shock came no matter what they did. At first, they struggled. They tried everything. Nothing worked. And then, eventually, they stopped trying. Even when escape became possible, even when the door was wide open, they lay down and endured it. Seligman called it learned helplessness. For years, that phrase was read as a story about weakness, about giving up. But newer research, including Seligman's own later revisions with the neuroscientist Stephen Meyer, flipped the story completely. The passivity they found is not the thing that gets learned. Shutting down is actually the brain's default response to prolonged stress. What a healthy animal learns when it has control is to override that shutdown. Helplessness isn't the thing you acquire. It's the thing that takes over when the sense of control is stripped away, which is exactly the mole rat, drawn in a different language. When you cannot change the environment, your nervous system stops spending energy screaming about it. It reroutes. It adapts. It goes quiet so you can keep functioning inside the very thing that is hurting you. This is not a flaw. Read that again. This is not a flaw. It is one of the most sophisticated survival tools your body owns. The ability to feel less is the reason people endure grief, war, poverty, illness, and loss without collapsing. Numbness is a bridge. It carries you across the part of life that has no floor. But here is the twist that the naked mole rat cannot warn you about, because it never has to make the choice you do. The mole rat lives its entire life in the tunnel. The acid air never clears. Its numbness is permanent because its situation is permanent, and the two are perfectly matched. The animal is never in danger of mistaking a temporary hell for a forever one. You are, because your numbness doesn't switch itself back on when the air clears. The nervous system that learned to stop feeling in a bad year does not automatically start feeling again in a good one. You can escape the tunnel and carry the silence with you. You can sit in a life that is finally safe, finally kind, finally yours, and feel absolutely nothing, because the part of you that decided feeling was too expensive never got the message that the cost has changed. This is what therapists see constantly. Someone leaves the job, ends the relationship, survives the illness, and then arrives, confused, saying the strangest thing. I should be happy now. Why do I feel flat? Why is everything gray? The alarm didn't just turn off. It forgot how to turn back on. The neuroscientist Bruce McEwen spent his career studying what he called allostatic load, the accumulated wear of adapting to stress again and again. Every time your body silences an alarm to survive, it pays a small price. Do it long enough and the machinery of feeling itself begins to change. The brain regions that process emotion and reward physically remodel. Adaptation, the very thing that saved you, becomes the thing that dulls you. You survived the storm and discover the storm rewired the instrument. So what do you do with this? The mole rat offers no answer, because for the mole rat there is no problem. But you are not a mole rat. And this is where the mirror finally shows something the animal never sees. The first thing is to stop congratulating yourself for the numbness. Not feeling the burn is not the same as the burn being gone. When you notice you've gone flat, don't call it strength. Call it what it is, a signal, an old survival program still running long after the war ended. The flatness is information. It is telling you that somewhere, once, feeling became too dangerous to afford. The second thing is stranger and harder. You have to prove to your nervous system that the air has changed. It will not believe you just because you say so. It believes evidence. It believes small, repeated, safe experiences of feeling something and not being destroyed by it. This is, at its core, what good therapy actually does. It doesn't force the pain back. It slowly, gently shows the body that the tunnel is behind you, that the door is open now, that it is finally safe to turn the alarm back on. And the third thing is the hardest of all. You have to be willing to feel the pain you skipped, because it did not disappear. The naked mole rat gets to keep its silence forever. You only borrowed yours. Everything you refuse to feel in order to survive is still there, waiting, deferred, and the only way out of the numbness is back through the very thing the numbness was protecting you from. That is a brutal deal, but it is also the door. There is a reason the naked mole rat lives up to 30 years, 10 times longer than a mouse its size, while the mouse burns bright and dies fast. Something about not being ruled by constant alarm lets it endure. It is a master of survival, but survival and living are not the same word, and the mole rat only ever gets the first one. You get to choose the second. So the next time someone brushes the burn and you feel nothing, don't be so quick to call it healing. Sit with it. Ask the question the pink little animal underground can never ask itself. Did I stop feeling this because it stopped hurting? Or did I just get very, very good at living in the tunnel?